Kind of comes the other way here. Well, it kind of comes the other way because Roy was questioning me earlier. He questions
and
everybody.
now I'm learning something because
Gotcha.
now Seamus is teaching me something. Right. So
Didn't mean to
either I
interrupt.
want to be taught or someone.
No problem.
Right. It's always win-win. It's like, I teach, you teach. I learn, you learn.
No, Roy. That's not knowledge, I'm afraid. That's optimism again on your part. The knowledge is that it doesn't have to be win-win all the time. No, Roy. Right? Generally, it's going to be win-win because you're picking somebody that you feel elevated by. And that's, of course, a win straight away. Right? But you have to work at these things. As Larry's saying, it's about doing. It's not just about being in. Yeah, the chemicals are great and everything, right? And I love being in that state where you can just kiss somebody for the rest of your life and be happy. Those are great chemicals, okay? But that isn't what, love on a long term is going to buy you, right? That's going to sustain it, but it's not going to do it for you. You've still got to cook for each other. You've still got to be with each other. You've still got to listen to each other. I mean, I'm just saying, Roy, again, this black and white thinking, that's the real killer. There is a middle ground here, which is to remain open, right? Not to commit yourself to being suppressed or whatever the other was. Yeah, but to have an open mind. And if you go in with an open mind, at least you're not saying to yourself, I'm going to be able to fall into things like abusive relationships that easily, right? Because you're open-minded about it. You're not going in going, well, this is it. I love this person. I've told God I love this person, and that's how it will always be. Right? That's the black and white thinking, which is naive, in my view. So, go ahead, Lally. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I'm just trying to figure out where I fit in this, and I misunderstood the conversation. I apologize. I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the topic and where, if anywhere, I fit into it, and that's really it. And I'm mostly just playing with plants that I just got. So don't feel like you're needing to entertain me. So.
Well, what I'm trying to put on the table is human relationships. When one person wants to be in a relationship with another, for friendship or more, what are the telltale signs that you're barking up the wrong tree? And when should you know this? And what should you do to kind of push the situation in a healthy way, just in case they're making a rash judgment about you simply because you remind them of somebody that hurt them in the past, and you fit the bill, and they're automatically dismissing you because of that. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
What has been
hang on a minute, Lally. Hang on a minute, Lally. Do you want the female perspective or do you want the male perspective, Roy?
Yes, I do.
Which one?
I want both.
You want both. Okay. Do you want female first or do you want male first?
Let's let the ladies go first.
Please, okay. Lally, please give me the female perspective on.
I myself am a big fan of backing off, both on my own part and on other people's part, because if it is something that is going to be reciprocated, it will be, and you'll know if you back off. If they come toward you, think about a tango, right? Think about a ballroom dancing situation. So, relationships at the beginning, at least the romantic kind, which is what I'm gathering that you're talking about, are very much a push-pull at the beginning, especially because neither of you know where you stand. So, I'm not a fan of pretending. I'm not good at pretending that I don't like somebody, but I am good at noticing and keeping myself from I'm good at picking up the signals, and I'm not a half-measured sort of feeler, but I'm very much a half-measured sort of actor. So I keep a very close check on how enthusiastic I am around people that I really, really, really like. Although I will be completely upfront and say I really, really like them, but I am not someone who's going to push when someone is not returning the push, if that makes sense. And that's my not very typical, may I state for the record, female perspective.
I love it. I love it. So knowing that about you, I'm going to ask you straight out right now, since we've just met in this virtual environment. I don't know you from Eve. And maybe I want to, maybe I don't, but I will tell you I do. So I would like to know the answer to this question. So
what's that?
I'm a black and white kind of guy, so it's yes or no is what I'm looking for. And if you cannot answer yes or no initially, I will allow that. Explain to me why you can't, and then maybe you can afterwards. So I'll start with this. Do you, what is your name, Nellie?
Lydia.
Lydia. Lydia, do you see me as your friend, yes or no?
Not yet. How's that?
I love it. I love it. Do you have a why?
Because this is our very first encounter, and it's in public.
So
I have never had a one-on-one conversation with you.
Okay.
And this is the first time you've ever addressed me by name. So it's a little early. I generally am a benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise person, though.
I love that. I love that answer because it's positive, right? It's hopeful. It's right. It's not a no.
Absolutely. I constantly, I will give benefit of the doubt until I am driven away from that position. On the other hand, it is very rare for me to really, really, really like someone beyond like a general, that agape brother love thing or neighbor love. So I love almost everybody in the agape way, but there are some people who I really, really, really love, and not in a like sexy way. So, anyway.
Right. No. And I have a follow-up question on that.
What's that?
Do you trust me? Yes or no?
Not yet. Same answer. But I have no reason not to.
I like that you added that. I like that you added that.
I have no reason not to. It's a complete, it's entirely open at this point.
Okay. Before I get the male perspective, let me just follow through on why I asked you these two questions. Okay? And this is for everybody to answer. This is for everybody to answer. It's a one-liner. It is a quote. And I just want you to know that I want to know, do you agree or do you disagree with what I'm about to say? Okay, so think about it if you need to. Use your first response. That's usually the best. And it goes like this. The way you see a person is the way you treat that person. Agree or disagree? Anybody,
disagree.
All of you.
Disagree.
Disagree, there's one disagree.
Pass. Disagree.
Pass.
There's a couple passes.
Disagree.
There's another disagree. Lydia, did I hear from you? What do you agree or disagree?
Disagree strongly.
It kind of conflicts with the way that I conceive of other people. But since it's a yes or no, then I'll just go with agree, actually, but it would take a lot of explaining for me to tell you why.
Okay. Wow. So we don't have a unanimous decision here, which is normally the case for me in whatever situation. I have a room full of believers, I have a mixed room, or I have a room full of unbelievers, and it doesn't matter. I usually get a mixed bag. So did anybody else say agree that I missed?
Was the question, do you treat people how you see them?
No. The question is this. Oh, it's actually a statement. This is a statement. I'm putting this out as a statement. The way you see a person is the way you treat that person.
When you say see, do you mean, you don't mean...
Oh, let's leave it, Mark. Come on now.
Well, no, but I need before my answer.
It's okay if Mark, if you want to ask a question, that's fine. Yes, because some people need a little bit more definition.
When you say see, do you mean visually see, or do you mean
visually?
Yeah, you mean visually.
Oh, I didn't know that he meant visually.
Okay, so that's why I don't tell you this ahead of time. Okay, so the answer is
black or white. Then
the answer is both. both visually and the way you perceive them to be. If you see them as a jerk, it's not physical. You can't see somebody
but are you talking about
and say, "Oh, they're a jerk." You have to perceive.
Are you talking about when you first set eyes on a person?
Yes.
When you first meet them.
Yes.
So, in other words, you're talking about first. Do I treat someone upon my first?
And continually, because if you make
your question would be then, do I treat someone upon dependent on my first impression?
No, because it's continually. Even if you change your mind, even if you change your mind after the first meeting, Mark, you still see them the same way. Because if you make a new decision, see, let me use an example.
That doesn't make any sense.
Then why would it will as soon as I. You want to ask me a question before I give you an example?
No. Go ahead.
Can I try and clarify, Roy, first? I mean, so you're saying, like, for argument's sake, we're invited to a party. You're at the party, I'm at the party, and I walk into the room and someone says, "This is Roy Montero," and we shake hands. And are you talking about that moment from then on?
Well, but your perception of me, your seeing of me can change, right? And it has with other people.
Because you're in a party atmosphere, I might talk to you, and then you say a couple of things depending on what we say, depending on how you behave, and I might leave that party with a certain impression of you as a human being or as a man or whatever. But then I might see you a week later at another party or gathering or whatever, and you're completely different. So I would disagree that I wouldn't treat you. How I treat you wouldn't be dependent upon the first time we met.
Okay, but Mark, that's not quite what I'm asking. So for the rest of you who are struggling with seeing what I'm saying, let me put it this way. Listen very closely. The way you see Roy Montero is the way you treat Roy Montero. Now, you can insert any person's name or anybody in there. I'm using myself because I know you all have a perception of me. The way you see me physically, which you don't see, some of you have seen me in the past, that's irrelevant. I mean more of a perception. So for example, if you first see me and I look like a homeless person, you're going to treat me like a homeless person.
Not forever, though, if you prove it otherwise, because, I mean, as someone who works outside for a living and it gets quite grubby quite frequently, if someone meets me, they could think that, I mean, I'm filthy right now, just at my own house. But, I mean, I have actually been asked on the street whether I was a homeless person, but because I dress like a slub and often look very dirty because I work outside for a living. But I mean, there are other times when I look quite presentable. And so if I meet the same person on another day, they're no longer going to think I'm a homeless person. So,
you look quite adorable to me.
Thank you. I enjoy my schlub clothes more than my quote presentable clothing. Honestly, I feel a lot more myself. So.
Let's use Lydia as an example also. For the first time you met Lydia, all of you.
By the way, it's 4:20. By the way, just saying. Okay.
I'm pretty tobacco.
I'll be back in. I'm in. That's all I'm saying.
So my premise is, if I ask you, do you see me as your friend, which I asked Lydia, and she didn't say no.
420, Rick.
But she did say
no.
No, I said not
she
yet.
said
not
no.
Yet.
Well, not yet is no.
Let's make sure. Let's make sure. Lydia, did you not say not yet? You didn't say no. You didn't say yes.
No.
I said not yet because it's the first time I've ever spoken to you.
Right. So you didn't say yes and you didn't say no.
Not. She said not. Right.
Well, technically,
I see where you're going with this. Okay, Lydia, do you agree?
I mean, technically, it's a negative state at this moment, but it's not a statement of permanence at all. It's a non It's kind of like lacktheism.
You don't want to be committed to saying yes.
Well, there's no way.
Well, she's not your enemy.
Yeah, I'm in a neutral standpoint.
You're right. You're in a state of limbo.
I'm agnostic as when it comes to Roy Montero. How's that?
I already bought it when you said it the first time. But I like what Simos uncovered here a little deeper.
Lydia.
Say again?
It's got to be black or white, Lydia. It's got to be black or white, Lydia. It's yes or no. There's no in between.
I don't do well with black and white. Although,
well, you're not going to do well with Roy, which is what I'm saying. Answer.
I realize that. I'm perfectly comfortable with this game. I am able to answer.
Me too. He's an adorable, cuddly bear.
I can imagine Roy being a very personable, decent chap, but I would hate to have a meal with him because we'd never get past the fucking menu.
Does this have cheese? Yes or no? Well, sir, you see, it's a blend. No, yes or no?
Exactly. What would you like to eat, sir? Yes or no? Well,
if you're worried about that, just treat him like a pretty lady and order for him.
In the beginning, appetizer. Yes or no?
There you go. That's the answer.
Yes, John, that's a good one. Yeah.
That is
starter,
good.
sir? Yes or no?
I've actually answered your game many times when I've heard you play it on other people.
Well,
I've answered it in my head.
so you used the word game. I would go deeper. I'd say I'm testing you.
Oh, go deeper.
You're maze. You're go left or right. I'm envisioning it kind of like one of those not word search, but one of those maze puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roy. Here's some advice, Roy. Never do the voiceover for a sat nav.
Well taken, Mark. Well taken. No, what I do is, and I'm very open about it, is I test you. I test everybody. Once I find your button, I will push it. So the thing is, why do you show me your button in the first place?
There's an offer you can't refuse.
Okay, can we? We're all covered in here.
My buttons are covered. My buttons are all covered. You cannot find my buttons.
I think you're right. I think your buttons are pretty well covered. Go ahead.
Mine's an innie. An innie.
I have an innie also.
So when people
no longer pierced innie.
Yes, when people go looking for my buttons, they won't find it. It's impossible to find one of my buttons that you think
it's possible to find mine. I just don't think you can. Mine are visible to some people, and sometimes people stumble across them inadvertently, and then they get surprised.
Men of a certain age should go to the doctor. He'll be able to find your button, Roy.
The thing is called a prostate examination.
Mark, you're actually quite witty. I appreciate that. Nice. Listen, if someone can make me laugh, well, not make me, you can't make me laugh, but if you give me an environment where I can laugh and belly laugh with you on what you say, and I see you as a witty person, I will definitely treat you as a witty person. Okay.
There you go.
So let me go back to explain that it is true, and anyone who said I disagree needs to re-examine what's actually being said, because you cannot do anything but treat a person the way you see him. For example, you first meet Roy Montero and you think he's a jerk, you see him as a jerk, you will treat him as a jerk. And Mark, I even heard you say that that's what you were going to do earlier. Now, with that in mind, you can make a new decision. You can change your mind down the road, because once you realize, he may be a jerk in this area, but you know what? I have so much else in common with this person. They're actually quite nice and quite witty. And if we just stay away from this topic and talk about these topics, I'm entertained and I'm educated.
Well, that was my point. It's not, you haven't quite got it right. I wouldn't treat you as a jerk because I see you as one. I would treat you according to how you treated me. So if we went out for a beer and you were obnoxious to me, I'd likely be obnoxious back to you. But if we had a reasonable discussion and a laugh along the way and a couple of beers, and we ended the evening disagreeing on certain things, but we'd had a laugh, then all well and good. But when that was my point to you, when you try and push something on someone from the get-go, they're going to treat you accordingly, in kind, probably.
I sort of agree with that. I sort of agree with that. It has nothing to do with how that person treats
that's the
you.
golden rule of Jesus, is it not? That's what Jesus said.
Well, no, you don't know, because you don't respond in kind. If someone's a jerk to you, you don't be a jerk to them, and I think that's what I hear you say, Mark.
Yeah, isn't that what Jesus said? Treat others, do unto others as they do unto you.
No, no, that's not the goal.
Sorry, treat others.
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
I've had two
which
drinks.
Means to be a friendly person, right?
Yeah, Jesus was basically saying, don't be a jerk to other people, and they won't be a jerk to you, pretty much.
So, but here's my point. My point is,
treat others as you want to be treated. That's what I meant.
I want to get Joseph in here because I think, Joseph, you said that you disagreed, right, with the premise of the way you see a person is the way you treat that person. Are you married, Joseph?
Pretty close.
Okay, so you have a girlfriend, I'm assuming is what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you treat her the way you see her, or do you treat her different than the way you see her?
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't get, like...
Right. That's my point, is that if you did get what I was saying, you would agree instead of disagree. Okay, for example, if you see your girlfriend as almost your wife, then you're not going to treat her as she's not going to be almost your wife. You will treat her in the accordance of how you see her, perceive her to be. In other words, if you know your child, let's say, I'm assuming you don't have children yet. If you do, it works either way. Okay, almost. She's pregnant. Okay.
He's about to. Oh.
So congratulations on all of that. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't know you well, but I know you well enough to say that. And I mean that. Yes, absolutely. I'm all about relationships. And
I believe you.
I hope you guys never divorce, okay? I really do. I hope you guys never divorce.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
You should make this till death do you part. So be absolutely sure. So my point is, again, you're going to see your wife and treat your wife as if she's never going to leave you. But if you don't see her that way, even if she says to you, honey, I will be your wife for forever, but you don't trust her or you don't believe her, you will be suspicious of her and you will treat her as if you don't believe her. And so many couples do this. And when they start to do this to the other person, they have this almost self-fulfilling prophecy going on. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people will accuse the other person of not loving them or being faithful to them. And with all of that nonsense going on and them giving that perception to the other person, whether spoken or unspoken, it's probably going to happen. So that's why I say the way you see a person is the way you treat that person. Does that help anybody?
That long-winded way of saying give people the benefit of the doubt and trust them.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Mark.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Roy. I mean, do you think that getting into a relationship where someone is prepared to lie about those things to you is healthy? I mean, surely you must understand that what you're kind of saying is being suspicious of somebody is bad. Well, yeah, if it's your spouse, then obviously being suspicious of them is bad because they have to give you reason to be suspicious. And if they haven't given you any reason, that's what makes it bad. But if the spouse is currently, running around or, you're finding out that they're lying about things, then of course you're going to be suspicious because that's reason to be suspicious, right?
And
being naive, and so you should, because if you've got, if you go out for a drive in your car and she last used it and you found a pair of soiled knickers in the back, you're going to have some fucking reason, right? Of course you are. Don't be fucking naive, Roy. It's not black and white.
Wait a second. I'm not disagreeing with you. Listen. I'm just saying on top of what you just put as far as the scenario, what I'm saying to you is the next step is you will now treat your spouse with suspicion. The way you see them is the way you treat them. So the spouse will now know that you're suspicious.
Which is of course what you should do. That's of course what you should do. You should go to them and say, look, I found your soiled knickers in the back of the phone. What's going on? And if they turn around to you and go, oh, nothing. And what do you think is going to happen? Oh, yeah, actually, I've had an affair and I'm really sorry about it. And, well, maybe you can move on with the relationship. But all you're saying is, I got in a relationship with somebody who lied. Well, I'm sorry, dude. That's because you're being naive. Right? That'll keep happening if you keep being naive. Right? If you go in with this attitude that things will never change once they get set. You say to somebody that yes, I'm forever your friends. That's not the way life works. If you go into it doesn't matter how I treat this person, they'll love me forever. Then of course the marriage is going to end. Right?
Excuse me.
It's naive to think otherwise.
Sorry to interrupt right here, but I just got to do some house cleaning. Sid, are you there? All right, Sid, because I tried to get you in text. I'm going to have to remove you from the call because the room's full.
No, I'm here. I'll leave.
All right, but Sid, I have to say one thing to you. Please, when I invite people into the Hangout, all right, if you want to invite someone, please ask me first. Just don't invite someone. All right, it goes for anyone.
Sure.
All right, appreciate that. All
right.
In the future. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I gotta see what's going on.
Appreciate that.
All right.
In the future. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I gotta see what's going on.
Appreciate that.
All right.
In the future. All right, thank you.
Thank you.